Hey guys, this is Ike, Head of Developer Experience at Chainstack, and today we are doing a quick dive into the Chainstack Trader nodes on Solana. The Trader nodes are implemented in partnership with bloXroute, the industry leaders in delivering new transactions lightning fast and with 100% guarantee. We'll quickly go through how Trader nodes work, how they compare to the regular transaction cycle on Solana, and why you should try out the Chainstack Solana Trader nodes. Let's go! First, let's have a quick look into a standard Solana transaction lifecycle. This is a bird's eye view. I'm not diving into TPU, threads, account logs, or anything like that. This is a simple diagram. When Solana started, the lifecycle the transactions have followed was, and in a lot of cases still is, relatively simple. Your project, for example a bot, creates a standard transaction. This includes the public key, signature, and other essential data like swaps and so on. The assembled transaction is then sent to an RPC node. The RPC node forwards the transaction data to the current leader. This leader that is producing blocks on the Solana network then commits the transaction to a block. This process was designed to work from Solana's inception and still functions today for most use cases that are regular, non-time critical, non-volume critical, or win rate critical transactions. While this setup remains effective for many transactions, the landscape has evolved and there is of course topology introduced to make the network more efficient, like the well-known SWQOS or the stake-weighted quality of service. In an SWQOS setup, we have all the players we had before, the bot, the RPC node, the leader, but there is a new topology role in the mix now, the validator with the stake. This validator has a special peering relationship with the RPC node. The RPC node sends transactions to the validator. The validator then takes in the transactions, validates them, and forwards them to the leader. The leader then includes the transactions in the block. This extra step gives us a better shot at getting our transactions included in the next block, as they are sort of greenlit by the validator with the stake. Okay, so this is a little better if your setup involves transactions that are time critical, volume critical, win rate critical, and so on. And then we have setups where bloXroute is involved, and again, bloXroute is one of the industry leaders in delivering the transactions fast and has been doing this for many years for different protocols. In this setup, there is a lot of changes compared to the previous one. Now we are getting to where lending transactions and doing this lightning fast becomes critical. Now you have a separate RPC node that's hopefully in a location close to your bot. And the bot itself, this can be any project by the way, like a sniping bot, a trading bot, an HFT bot, or even a market making setup. So this bot is getting a live feed of data from the chain through an RPC node. This is any data the bot acts on, like it's getting block subscribe data, log subscribe data, get transactions data, and so on. Anything that is relevant, and then acts on it and must send critical transactions that must go through fast at lightning speed and must have a 100% landing rate. To be able to do this, your transactions now need to deviate from the standard assembly and need custom crafting because they need to include some specific bloXroute instructions, like a memo and the tip that bloXroute uses to process the transaction through its infrastructure. So you get the data of an RPC node, then craft a custom instructions transaction, send it to a bloXroute endpoint, and then bloXroute does a lightning fast transaction to the current leader, and your critical transaction is committed to a block. Now that we've gone through the standard setup, the SWQOS setup, the bloXroute setup, let's have a look at the Chainstack Solana Trader node setup. You will immediately notice that this is almost like a regular setup that we looked into earlier, and it's pretty simple from our bot perspective, which is good for us. With the Chainstack RPC node, it's the same node that's getting the data that your bot needs to act on. For example, a constant feed of block subscribe, logs subscribe, and so on. And then the moment your bot decides to send a transaction, that's a standard transaction assembly. No additional instructions, no custom setup. You don't need to craft anything out of the ordinary in there. From the bot perspective, this is a standard transaction. Once the Chainstack RPC node receives a send transaction request, which is carrying your standard transaction, it routes this immediately to bloXroute, and bloXroute does its magic of delivering the transaction lightning fast to the current leader, and your transaction is committed to the chain. In this transaction, You can use the priority fees, you can treat this as basically your standard transaction. For example, if you have your standard setup right now and you have an RPC node endpoint in your setup, you can go ahead today and switch it to Chainstack Trader node. Just one endpoint. You switch it in your setup without any further changes, becomes the setup where your transactions get delivered at lightning fast speeds, and every transaction becomes a critical priority transaction. Very easy. And a quick peek under the hood of our Chainstack bloXroute integration. Once your transaction goes from the bot as a send transaction request to the RPC node, it goes to bloXroute. And bloXroute delivers your standard transaction with a 100% lending rate through the pool of validators who are some of the highest stakes on the Solana network to the leader, and then it gets committed. All of this is done lightning fast using the bloXroute infrastructure and no need for custom transaction crafting on your side. Pretty cool. A few more details on the implementation. First, location is important because you're getting the data feed from an RPC node, and then you're sending the transactions to the node that has the bloXroute gateway installed. I suggest that you select the Chainstack Trader node location, which is closer to your bot. Then front-running protection on the transactions sent through the Chainstack Trader nodes is off. It's set to false, it's turned off, it's not used. Why? Because switching front-running protection to on would significantly delay the transaction process, because the transactions would then go through a limited pool of nodes that can include the transactions into the chain without anyone being able to see them. So instead you get very fast transactions that have a much reduced chance of being front-run when compared to the regular Solana transactions. But you do have the front-running protection set to false, which means you can still be front-run. So be aware of that. You also have 100% transaction lending rate because, as we mentioned, there is a pool of staked validators used on the bloXroute side, so your transactions are not only fast but also end up in blocks 100% of the time. And then priority fees. Since your transactions are very standard ones, you can use the priority fees. We tested, and without the high enough priority fees, the transactions get included 40% of the time in the first 2 blocks, which is pretty cool. And then you can increase the transaction priority fees, which will have a very substantial impact on your results. With higher priority fees, of course, you have a much higher chance of getting all your transactions within the first 2 blocks, or maybe even the very next block. Here is how you actually deploy a trader node. You go to any project that you have on Chainstack, you click Join Network, select Solana mainnet, then you go to Advanced, and then you pick a location. Click Next, Join Network, and you're done. You have an endpoint that you can now use in your setup and see the results immediately. Very easy. And you can also use the trader node endpoint in a Solana wallet if you have a Solana wallet, for example, like I have Backpack here, that supports custom RPC node endpoint. So go get your node endpoint, go to Backpack, click Settings, Solana RPC connection, custom, put your endpoint in there and click Update, and you're done. You'll have all your transactions initiated in your wallet, and they will get the high priority treatment. Okay, so now you know how you can turn your current setup, whatever the setup is, if it's a sniping bot, a trading bot, if you're running an HFT operation, a market making operation, and so on, you can today get the Chainstack Solana Trader node endpoint, switch your project to it, and immediately see the results. So sign up with Chainstack, check out our pricing page, as there is 90% of the time promotion discount going for the growth plan, which is the lowest plan carrying the trader nodes. Sign up and give the trader nodes a run at like $1. Bye.